The shuttle door opened and Park Tae stepped onto the deck of the Harmony's Edge for the first time. The air smelled different here. It was clean and cold, with a strange metal taste that sat on his tongue. He carried one bag over his shoulder. Everything he owned for the next 2 years fit inside it. A tall creature stood waiting for him. It had green scales covering its body like armor. Its eyes were yellow, with thin black lines down the middle. When it opened its mouth to speak, Tae saw rows of teeth that looked sharp enough to cut through bone. "Human Park Tae," the creature said. Its voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "I am Officer Drawl. I will take you to your quarters." Tae nodded and followed. He had read about the Lorians before coming here. They were one of the 12 species on this ship. Back on their home planet, they had been the top hunters for millions of years. Nothing had eaten them. They had eaten everything else. The hallways of the ship were wide and tall. Tae understood why when a group of Lorians walked past him. Each one stood almost 7 feet tall. Their shoulders were broad. Their arms were thick with muscle. They looked at Tae as they passed, and he saw something in their eyes. It was not hate. It was not anger. It was the look a wolf gives to a rabbit. Curious. Amused. Not worried at all. Tae was used to this look by now. His quarters were small but comfortable. A bed. A desk. A window that showed the stars outside. Officer Drawl left him there without saying goodbye. Tae did not mind. He put his bag on the bed and sat down. Through the wall, he could hear heavy footsteps. His neighbors were probably Lorians too. He thought about what his mother had said before he left Earth. She had held his hands and looked into his eyes. "Be careful," she had told him. "You will be the small one out there. You will be the weak one. Do not forget what you are." Tae had smiled at her then. "I know exactly what I am," he had said. The mess hall was full when Tae went to get food that evening. He had never seen so many different creatures in one place. The Lorians were easy to spot because of their size. But there were others too. The Viloon looked like big cats that walked on 2 legs. They had fur the color of midnight and eyes that glowed gold in the dim light. Their claws clicked against the floor when they walked. There were smaller species too. The Dreth had spines along their backs that contained poison. The Kellam had 4 arms and could climb walls. Every species on this ship had something that made them dangerous. Claws, teeth, venom, speed, strength. Humans had none of these things. Tae got his food and found an empty table. He started eating, trying to ignore the feeling of being watched. But it was hard to ignore when a Valen officer sat down across from him and stared without blinking. The creature did not say anything. It just watched Tae eat. Its golden eyes followed every movement of his hands. Tae knew what it was doing. On its home planet, the Valoon had hunted by watching their prey. They learned the patterns. They waited for the right moment. Then they struck. "Can I help you?" Tae asked. The Valoon tilted its head. "You are human," it said. Its voice was soft and smooth, like silk being pulled across skin. "Yes, you are small. Yes, you have no claws. No fangs. No armor." The Valoon leaned closer. "How did your species survive?" "All. God. How did your species survive?" Before Tae could answer, someone else sat down beside him. It was a human woman with short black hair and calm eyes. She wore the same uniform as Tae, but hers had more marks on the shoulder. She had been here longer. "That's a good question," the woman said to the Valoon. "Maybe one day you'll find out." The Valoon looked at her for a long moment. Then it stood up and walked away without another word. "Thank you," Tae said. The woman shook her head. "Don't thank me. Officer Kitha isn't dangerous. She's just curious." She held out her hand. "I'm Lee Yuna. I've been on this ship for 3 years. Tae shook her hand. "Park Tae. First day. I know, news travels fast here. You're one of only 3 humans on board." Yuna took a bite of her food. "The aliens don't know what to make of us. We don't fit their categories." "What do you mean?" Yuna smiled. It was a strange smile, like she knew a secret. Every species on this ship evolved as a predator. They look at each other and see equals, dangerous creatures that deserve respect. She pointed at Tay with her fork. Then they look at us. No claws, no venom, no natural weapons at all. They wonder how we're still alive. What do you tell them? Nothing. Yuna finished her food and stood up. I let them find out for themselves. It's more fun that way. She walked away, leaving Tay alone with his thoughts. That night, lying in his small bed, Tay heard the ship's announcement system come to life. A rough voice spoke words that made his heart beat a little faster. Attention all crew. Mandatory predator escape exercise scheduled for tomorrow. All personnel report to Training Base 7 at 0600 hours. This is not optional. Tay stared at the ceiling. Outside his window, the stars burned cold and bright. Somewhere in the ship, he heard a Lorian roar. It was a hunting sound, a victory sound. He closed his eyes and smiled. Tomorrow would be interesting. Training Base 7 was the largest room Tay had ever seen on a spaceship. It was big enough to hold 1,000 people. Today, it held 53. They stood in rows. Arranged by species, the Lorians took up the most space. The Valoons stood in the shadows near the walls, where the light was dim. The smaller species filled the gaps between them. The three humans stood together at the back. Tay, Yuna, and a quiet man named Cho Bin, who worked in the engine room. Bin was older than both of them, with gray in his hair and lines on his face. He had not said a single word since arriving. Commander Vrel stood at the front of the room. He was the largest Lorian Tay had seen so far. His scales were dark green, almost black, and scars covered his arms and chest. When he spoke, everyone listened. Today you will learn to survive, Vrel said. His voice filled the bay like thunder. The galaxy is dangerous. There are hostile species. There are wild creatures on unexplored planets. Someday, you may find yourself being hunted. This exercise will teach you what to do. He pressed a button on the wall. A hologram appeared in the air above him. It showed a map of the simulation deck. 3 levels of hallways, and rooms that twisted and turned like a maze. You will be released into the simulation deck, Vrel continued. You will have 1 hour. Your job is simple. Do not get caught. A Dreth officer raised one of its clawed hands. Caught by what, Commander? Vrel's mouth stretched into something that might have been a smile. By us. He gestured to his left. Officer Keitha stepped forward, along with 4 other Vylun and 6 more Lorians. They were the hunting team. 11 predators, against 53 prey. We will hunt you, Vrel said. We will find you. We will catch you. When we do, you are out of the exercise. The longer you survive, the better your score. Tay watched the hunting team. Keitha's golden eyes moved across the crowd. When they found him, she held his gaze for a moment. Her tail swished behind her. She was excited. The Vylun will track by smell, Vrel explained. We Lorians will track by sound and sight. You may run. You may hide. You may work together or alone, but you cannot fight back. This is an escape exercise, not a combat exercise. A young Kellam near the front made a worried sound. Its 4 arms were shaking. Tay understood why. The Kellam were small. Barely 4 feet tall, they were fast climbers, but on flat ground, a Valoon could catch them in seconds. Are there any questions? Vrel asked. Silence. Then Tay raised his hand. Every eye in the room turned to look at him. Vrel's yellow eyes narrowed. The human has a question? Yes, Commander. Tay's voice was calm and steady. I just want to make sure I understand the rules. Which predator exactly? Vrel blinked. The question seemed to confuse him. What do you mean? Which predator? The hunting team. The Lorians and Vylun. I just explained this. No, I understood that part, Tay said. I meant in this exercise, who is supposed to be the predator and who is supposed to be the prey. I want to be sure I know my role." The room went very quiet. Keitha stepped forward, her ears flat against her head. "You will be the prey, human. You will run. We will hunt. This is simple. This is obvious." "Is it?" Tay asked. Commander Vrel made a sound deep in his throat. It was not quite a growl, but close. "Human, I do not know if you are joking or if you are simply stupid. You are soft. You are slow. You have no natural weapons. Of course you are the prey." Tay nodded slowly. "I see. Thank you for explaining, Commander." He did not say anything else. But beside him, Yuna was smiling that strange smile again. And old Chobin made a sound that might have been a laugh, quickly hidden behind a cough. The hunting team looked at each other. Something had happened that they did not understand. The human had asked a simple question. But somehow it felt like more than that. It felt like a challenge. "The exercise begins in 10 minutes, Vrel announced. "Report to the simulation deck entrance. When the horn sounds, run." The crowd began to move toward the door. Tay walked with them, his hands in his pockets. He did not look nervous. He did not look scared. If anything, he looked bored. Keitha fell into step beside him. She was taller than him by almost a foot. Her claws made soft clicking sounds on the floor. "You are strange for a human," she said. "Am I? The others of your species seem to understand their place. They are afraid. You are not." Tay looked up at her. "Should I be afraid?" Keitha's golden eyes gleamed. "I have hunted creatures twice your size. Creatures with armor and claws and venom. I have caught them all. You have nothing. Yes, human, you should be afraid." They reached the entrance to the simulation deck. The door was huge, made of metal 3 inches thick. Beyond it lay the maze where Tay would spend the next hour of his life. He turned to face Keitha. "Can I ask you a question?" "Ask. On your home planet, when your people hunted, how long did the chase usually last?" Keitha tilted her head. "Seconds. Usually. A minute at most. We are fast. Our prey is not." Tay nodded. "I thought so. Why do you ask?" The horn sounded before he could answer. The doors opened. All around him, aliens began to run into the maze, their feet pounding against the metal floor. They were already looking for places to hide. Tay did not run. He walked through the door at the same steady pace he used for everything. Not fast, not slow, just constant. Keitha watched him go, her tail twitching with confusion. She did not understand yet, but she would. The simulation deck was dark. Emergency lights glowed red along the floor, giving just enough light to see. The walls were gray metal. The ceiling was high, with pipes and vents running across it. There were hundreds of places to hide. Most of the crew used them. The Kellam climbed into the ventilation system within seconds of entering. Their small bodies fit perfectly in the narrow spaces. The Dreth found dark corners where their gray skin made them almost invisible. Even some of the larger species squeezed themselves into storage rooms and maintenance closets. Everyone hid. Everyone except Tay. He walked down the main corridor at an easy pace. His footsteps echoed in the quiet. He made no effort to be silent. He did not look for places to hide. He just walked. Behind him, the hunting team spread out. He could hear Commander Vrel giving orders through their communication devices. The Vaylun would search the upper levels. The Lorians would take the lower ones. They would work together, driving prey toward each other. It was a good plan. It had worked many times before. Tay turned left at the first intersection, then right, then left again. He was not following a map. He was just walking, choosing directions at random. The maze was large enough that random movement would keep him away from the hunters for a while, but not forever. He heard the sound of claws on metal above him. Looking up, he saw Keitha clinging to the ceiling. Her golden eyes reflected the red emergency lights. She looked like a demon from an old story. "Found you," she said. "You did," Tay agreed. She dropped from the ceiling. Her landing was silent despite her size. She stood between Tay and the corridor ahead, blocking his path. "You do not hide," she said. It was not a question. "No. You do not run." "No." Keitha's ears moved forward. "Then what is your plan, human? Do you want to be caught?" Tay thought about the question. "No," he said finally. "I just don't think hiding or running will work." "Then you are stupid." "Maybe." He started walking again. Not toward Keitha, but to the side, toward a different corridor. Keitha moved to block him. He changed direction. She blocked him again. This time, Tay did not change direction. He just kept walking, moving past her. Close enough to touch. Keitha spun and chased him. She was fast, incredibly fast. Her legs pushed her forward like springs, and she closed the distance between them in 3 seconds. Her hand reached out to grab his shoulder. Tay turned a corner. Keitha followed. She was right behind him now, close enough to hear his breathing. Her claws extended, ready to tag him as caught. Tay turned another corner. Keitha followed again. Her legs were starting to feel warm. Not tired yet, but warm. How many corners had they turned? 5? 6? Tay kept walking. Same speed, same rhythm. He did not look back. 10 minutes passed. Keitha was breathing harder now. Her species was built for short chases, quick attacks. They did not run for long periods. They did not need to. On their home planet, prey either died in the first minute or escaped completely. There was no middle ground. But this human would not stop. He was not even running. He was walking. Just walking. And somehow, Keitha could not catch him. Every time she got close, he turned a corner. Every time she lunged, he stepped aside. It was like trying to catch smoke with her bare hands. 15 minutes. Her legs were burning. Her lungs hurt. She had never felt this way during a hunt before. "Human," she called out. Her voice was rough. "Stop. Let me catch you." Tay glanced back at her. His breathing was normal. His face was calm. "Why would I do that?" "Ah, because this is not how hunting works. It's how human hunting works." He kept walking. 20 minutes. Keitha stopped. She had to. Her body would not let her continue. She bent over, hands on her knees, gasping for air. Her legs trembled. Her heart pounded so hard she could feel it in her throat. Tay stopped too. He turned around and looked at her. "Are you okay?" he asked. The question made Keitha angry. No. Not angry. Confused. She was the predator. He was the prey. Why was he asking if she was okay? What are you?" she whispered. Tay walked back toward her. He stopped a few feet away, close enough for her to grab him if she had the strength. She did not. "On my planet," Tay said quietly. "Our ancestors did not have claws or fangs. We were not fast. We were not strong. But we survived. Do you know how?" Keitha shook her head. "We followed things. We walked after them. Not fast. Just steady. The other animals would run away, and we would follow. They would stop to rest, and we would keep walking. They would run again, and we would follow. Hour after hour, day after day. Until finally, they were too tired to run anymore." He looked into her golden eyes. "We did not need to be faster than our prey. We just needed to never stop." Keitha stared at him. Her legs would not move. Her body screamed for rest, and the human stood there, not even breathing hard, waiting to see what she would do next. "You should rest," Tay said. "I'll keep going." He turned and walked away. His footsteps echoed down the corridor, steady and constant, until they faded into silence. Keitha sat down on the cold metal floor. For the first time in her life, she understood what it felt like to be prey. The reports came in one after another. In the observation room above the simulation deck, the ship's science officer watched the screens with growing confusion. Her name was Velka, and she had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond shape on her face. Right now, all 4 of them were very wide. "Commander Vrel," she said into her communicator. Something strange is happening. Vrel's voice came back rough and tired. He was still in the maze, still hunting. 41 crew members have been caught, 12 remain free. That is not strange. We still have time. Commander, 3 of the 12 are human. There was a long pause. The humans have not been caught? No, sir. And there is something else. Velka pulled up the tracking data on her screen. Your hunting team is slowing down. Keitha has not moved from her position in the past 5 minutes. 2 of the Lorians have stopped to rest. But the humans are still moving. They have not stopped once. On the lower level of the maze, Commander Vrel stood in a dark corridor and tried to understand what he was hearing. The humans were still free. His best hunters were exhausted. This made no sense. He looked at the tracker on his wrist. It showed the position of all crew members. The male human, Park Tae, was 3 corridors away. Moving slowly. Always moving. Vrel started walking toward him. Then he started running. He was fast. All Lorians were fast. His powerful legs carried him through the maze at 40 kilometers per hour. Walls blurred past him. Corners came and went. In less than a minute, he saw the human ahead of him. Tae did not run. He glanced back at Vrel, then turned down a side corridor and kept walking. Vrel followed. His claws scraped against the floor as he ran. The human was right there. Just a few meters ahead. He reached out his hand to grab. Tae turned another corner. Vrel turned too. He was getting closer. His fingers almost touched the human's back. Tae turned again. And again. And again. 5 minutes later, Vrel had to slow down. His legs hurt. His chest burned. He had never run this long before. On his home planet, chases lasted seconds. This was something different. This was something wrong. The human was still walking. How? Vrel growled. How are you doing this? Tae looked back at him. The human was not even sweating. Doing what? You will not stop. You should be tired. You should be caught. I'm not tired. Vrel stopped running. He stood in the middle of the corridor, breathing hard. The human stopped too, and turned to face him. Your species, Vrel said between breaths. What are you? We're human. That tells me nothing. Tae thought for a moment. We are what happens when a species has no claws, no fangs, and no armor. We had to find another way to hunt. 10 minutes more passed. Vrel tried again and again to catch the human. Each time, he got close. Each time, Tae simply walked away. The Lorian's body was failing him. His muscles were filled with fire. His lungs could not get enough air. In another part of the maze, Lee Yuna was doing the same thing to 2 Vylon hunters. They had cornered her 3 times. 3 times, she had simply walked through their trap and kept going. Now they were lying on the floor, too tired to continue. Yuna stood over them. You know, this is actually a nice workout, she said. I usually have to use the gym. One of the Valen made a weak sound. It might have been a word, but it was too quiet to hear. In the observation room, Velka was reading everything she could find about humans. The ship's database had basic information, but not much. Humans were new to the Galactic Coalition. Nobody had studied them carefully yet. But Velka was finding things, terrible things. Commander, she said into her communicator. Her voice was shaking. I found something. About the humans. Vrel's response was barely a whisper. He was sitting on the floor now, unable to stand. What? What did you find? Their species has a hunting method. It is called persistence hunting. They do not chase prey to catch it. They chase prey until it dies. Until it dies? From what? From exhaustion, from heat, from fear. Velka's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. Human bodies can regulate temperature better than almost any species on record. They can sweat, which removes heat from their body. They can walk or run for hours without stopping. Some humans have run for more than 24 hours without rest. Silence. Commander. Their ancestors would pick an animal and follow it. The animal would run away. The humans would walk after it. The animal would rest. The humans would keep coming. This would continue until the animal's body failed. Sometimes it took hours. Sometimes it took days. In the maze, Vrel looked up. Park Tae was standing a few meters away, watching him. "You understand now," Tae said quietly. "This is what we are." Vrel tried to speak. His throat was dry. You are not prey. No. You are not predators like us. No. We are something different." Tae walked closer. He stood over the massive Lorian commander. "We are the thing that follows you home. We are the thing that never gets tired. We are the thing that is always there when you look back." He offered his hand to Vrel. "Do you want to rest, Commander? There are still 8 minutes left in the exercise." Vrel looked at the hand. Then he looked at his communication device. "End the exercise," he said. "End it now." The lights in the maze turned on. The horn sounded. All around the simulation deck, hunters and prey stopped moving. The exercise was over. But something had changed. Something important. The aliens had learned a lesson today. Humans were not weak. They were patient. And that was much, much worse. The debriefing room was quiet. Every seat was filled. Every eye was watching the front of the room, where the 3 humans sat. Park Tae, Lee Yuna, and Cho Bin looked completely normal. They were not tired. They were not hurt. They sat in their chairs like they had just woken up from a good sleep. The rest of the room looked very different. Commander Vrel sat with his legs stretched out in front of him. A medical officer had examined him after the exercise. His muscles were damaged from overuse. He would need 2 days to fully recover. Officer Keitha sat beside him. She had not spoken since the exercise ended. Her golden eyes kept moving to the humans, then looking away, then moving back again. She could not stop watching them. The other hunters were in similar condition. Some of them had needed help walking out of the simulation deck. One Vialoon was still in the medical bay. "Let us begin," Commander Vrel said. His voice was rough. Final results of the exercise. 41 crew members were caught. 12 remained free when the exercise ended. He paused. The next words seemed difficult for him to say. Of the 12 survivors, 3 were human. 3 were Kellam, who hid in the ventilation system. The remaining 6 were various species who found good hiding spots and did not move. Another pause. The humans did not hide. They did not stop moving. They walked for the entire 52 minutes of the exercise. None of the hunting team could catch them. Silence filled the room. A young Dreth raised his hand. "Commander, how is that possible? Humans are the slowest species on this ship. They should have been the first ones caught." Vrel looked at Tae. "Would you like to explain?" Tae stood up. He looked around the room at all the different faces watching him. Scales, fur, spines, and plates. Every species here had evolved to be a perfect killer. And every single one of them was afraid of him now. "On Earth," Tae began, "humans evolved on open plains. We had no claws, no armor, no venom. The animals around us were faster and stronger. So we found a different way to hunt." He started walking as he spoke. Not fast. That same steady pace he had used in the exercise. "We would choose an animal. Then we would follow it. Not run after it. Just follow. Walk. The animal would see us and run away. We would keep walking. Eventually, the animal would stop to rest. It would think it was safe. Then it would see us coming over the hill, still walking, still following. So it would run again." He reached the front of the room and turned to face everyone. This would continue for hours, sometimes days. The animal would run, then rest, then run again. But we would never stop. We would never rest. We would just keep walking, keep following, keep coming. Keitha made a small sound. And then the animal's body would fail. Its legs would stop working. Its heart would give out. It would fall down and not get up again. Tae looked directly at her. "We didn't need to be faster. We just needed to never quit. The room was completely silent. Yuna stood up to join Tay at the front. This is what humans are. We're not dangerous in a fight. A Lorian could kill any of us in seconds. A Valen could catch us before we took 3 steps. She smiled. But here's the thing. You can't stay at full strength forever. You have to rest sometime. And when you rest, we're still coming. Old Cho Bin spoke for the first time. His voice was quiet but clear. There is an old saying on Earth. The enemy does not have to beat you. They just have to wait for you to beat yourself. Commander Vrel nodded slowly. I believe I understand now. He looked at his crew. At all the predator species sitting exhausted in their chairs. We have made an error in our thinking. We looked at humans and saw weakness. No weapons. No armor. Slow bodies. We thought they were harmless. He turned to face Tay. We were wrong. After the debriefing, Tay walked back to his quarters alone. The hallways that had seemed scary yesterday now felt different. Lorian stepped aside to let him pass. Vaylun looked away when his eyes met theirs. Even the small Dreth gave him extra space. Nobody stared at him like he was food anymore. Yuna caught up with him near his door. Not bad for your first day, she said. Is it always like this? The exercise? No, that was special. They won't make that mistake again. She leaned against the wall. But the respect? That stays. Once they know what we are, they never forget. Tay opened his door. What happens now? Now we do our jobs. We work alongside them. We become part of the crew. Yuna smiled. But they'll always know. Deep down, in the back of their minds, they'll know that if things ever went bad, they couldn't run from us. They couldn't hide from us. All they could do is hope we weren't coming. She walked away, leaving Tay alone. That night, while most of the ship slept, the science officer Velka updated the Galactic Coalition database. She sat in her office, her 4 eyes fixed on the screen as she typed, species, human, origin, Earth, Sol system, threat classification, updated. She deleted the old text and wrote something new. Low threat in short encounters, extreme threat in prolonged encounters. Human physiology allows for continuous activity far beyond what most predator species can maintain. They do not tire easily. They do not quit. They do not stop. She paused, then added one more line. Recommended response when facing a hostile human. Do not run. Negotiate. Her fingers hesitated over the keyboard. Then she typed a final note at the bottom. Note. Humans find this classification amusing. This is concerning. She saved the file and closed her computer. Through her window, she could see the stars sliding past as the ship traveled through space. Somewhere on the ship, a human was probably still awake. Probably still moving. Probably still watching. Velka decided she would be very polite to the humans from now on. Very polite indeed.